Welcome to the Health Flow Podcast. I'm your host, Jean Armand. Join me weekly as I share health information that will educate and inspire you. Please consider supporting this podcast by listening, subscribing, and rating. You can also support future episodes by making small monthly donations. Once again, welcome to the Health Flow Podcast. Welcome to the Health Flow Podcast. This is episode number 28, and I have with me my friend, Dr. Reginald Nesbitt, and we're just going to have a general conversation today about how to achieve good health, or just the steps and things that we should be doing to assist us with good health. And he wants to talk about the 4 tenets of fitness. So we're going to also talk about that. So welcome, Dr. Nesbitt.
Good morning, Jane. How are you doing?
I'm doing okay. I probably sound a little congested for everyone out there. The last couple days I've been in bed and realized that, health is just so important. Today, now that I feel better, and I was able to just get out of bed, not be totally weak. My body's not completely aching, and I actually could put a load of laundry in the washing machine. I was like, oh my God, thank you. I'm recovering. So excuse my voice and the way I sound, but just yet another just another example how important our health is. So I asked you to think about what are your top 10 advice you can give to everyone about their health. So have you thought of any?
I have, and I'm four short. I got 6 for you.
All right, maybe I can add some.
Yeah, I got 6, but the 6 that I have are pretty powerful. So maybe that'll suffice. Be important enough to be 10. So
all right.
So we'll start with sort of the obvious things. Like we'll start with diet, right? So what you eat. Our bodies are essentially we are machines like anything else, right? We're just more finely tuned than, let's say, a car, right? But nonetheless, we are finely tuned machines. And with anything else like a machine, let's take a car. It requires maintenance, and it requires upkeep, and it requires fuel. So I think if people can think of themselves in sort of that term, then it makes it a little bit easier to understand sort of the importance of how do you take care of yourself in terms of what you eat. And I'm not here to talk about any one specific diet, and there are many, and different things work for different people, right? But the commonality is this, right? Garbage in equals garbage out, right? That's the commonality. I don't care what kind of, dietary restrictions you follow. Garbage in equals garbage out. So the ability to put in, to fuel yourself with quality foods, because your body is optimally designed to last longer than any car, right? I mean,
there's no 80-year-old car out there.
No 80, right? Not one that has not been restored. Not one that has run continuously for 80, right? So, but you can. I mean, but your body requires fuels, requires what you eat. So what you eat is very, very, very important, because what you eat determines how optimally your body functions. And everything that you get from your diet, your body takes it, uses it for its own metabolic needs.
Yeah.
So if you put in clean stuff, and I'm just saying, and I'm speaking in an optimal term. I'm not talking about, certain situations in which you get things like cancer, things like that. That's different, right? But let's just say in the exclusion of those situations, what you put in, your body takes it, uses it, and it provides you energy. It provides you the ability to sleep, provides you with appropriate rest. It allows things to function like your heartbeat, allows things to function like your central nervous system. It allows you to move and walk and think and talk. And these are all very, very, very important. So if you put in good stuff, you get good stuff out. If you put in bad stuff, then your body will take the bad stuff and make bad stuff happen, right?
Right.
So if you eat to an excess of anything, let's just take one of the common things. If you eat in excess calories, eat in excess carbs, eat in excess, anything, one of the common things will happen is you get diabetes. Type 2 diabetes, not type 1. Type 1 is sort of the inherent one that happens when people's pancreas burns out when they're younger. We're not talking about that, right? We're talking about preventable things.
Right.
Hypertension is another thing that can happen. So these things happen in your diet becomes very, very, very important, because once you have these, what I call lifestyle diseases, now you got to change your lifestyle to get rid of them.
Right.
Or you just take medications and take medications and take medications. And the problem with taking medications is once you start, if you don't make the necessary lifestyle changes, you typically can't stop taking the medication.
Right.
And most people don't want to take medications. And then they stop taking the medications and then they all jacked up.
Most people don't want to take medications. No, most people don't want to take medications, but they don't want to do the work to prevent them from taking medications.
Right.
And yet what they'll say is that the medical community is always just trying to push medications.
Right.
But I guarantee many people, like say with new onset diabetes, type 2, especially type 2, initially there was a conversation. If you were a person that regularly followed up, there was that initial conversation usually that said, we need you to lose weight, change your diet and what you're eating. If not, you're going to need medication. They don't make the changes, and then they need the medication, and then it's somebody else's fault.
It's somebody else's fault, right? It's somebody else's fault.
I'm just saying, I've seen it many times. And then talking about the foods like you're talking about, I agree, we're not specifically talking about any diet. We know we've got our vegans, not, vegetarians, all that, but we're talking about diets that are high in processed foods.
Right.
High fat.
Right.
Content.
Unhealthy fats. Unhealthy fats.
Yes, yeah. Unhealthy fat. Right. Because we know our avocado is great fat.
Good stuff.
But the high salt, think salt is a preservative. So if you're eating a lot of, that's one of the aspects of salt. If you're eating canned foods, they're usually higher in sodium.
Right.
Because it's, helping with preserving the soup. The food. So just, it's just wise choices. If you're eating out fast foods more than you're actually cooking, then that's not a good diet. So
it's not a good. It's not a good diet, and it's also very expensive. Like if you were to take there is a misnomer that it's more expensive to eat quote unquote healthy than it is to eat out. Okay, but is it, right? Does it take more effort? Yeah, you got to go to the grocery store, or maybe you don't have to go to the store. Maybe you get your groceries delivered now, or maybe you order them online and you just go to the store and pick them up. So you got the convenience there, but is it really more expensive? It may take more time to cook, sure, of course. Mm-hmm. Preparation, yes, of course, as opposed to stopping in a drive-through, grabbing something and getting on with your business. Right. But the issue is that you can control what you choose to cook and what you choose not to eat, right?
Right, and what you're adding to your food.
What you're adding to your foods, but when you are getting something handed to you, there's no control, right? You can sort of control what you order, but you still have no idea what goes into that preparation.
Exactly.
And that makes a difference. It makes a difference. That's not to say that that's not to say that people should not
eat out, right?
Yeah, don't eat. I'm not saying that. Look, I just had a great, delicious hamburger the other day, and it was fantastic. And I had some excellent fries with it, and it was fantastic. I just know that can't be something I do every single day.
Yeah. It's about moderation too.
Moderation. Well, don't say moderation because that was one of my things. So don't skip ahead.
Since I can't read your mind. No. Okay, so let's move on. What's your next thing?
um, the next corollary is exercise. Get some exercise, and our bodies are meant to be moved, right? We move on a normal daily basis anyway. We walk, we talk, we speak, we read. We do a lot of things unconsciously or subconsciously, but those are forms of exercise for your body. But your body is designed for movement, and it's when I get up and I go to a grocery store and I have to bring bags into the house, I need to have the ability to take the groceries out of the car. I need to have the ability to push the cart with the groceries in it. I have the ability to walk up the stairs. These are all forms of exercise, right? Because
Right.
your body, we are designed for what we call gross movements as well as precise movements, right? So
Right.
you have to exercise those things because if you don't use it, you lose it. So exercise is tantamount because it optimizes your body's performance. But exercise becomes very difficult if you have a poor diet. And exercise allows your body to also improve in its function, improve in its ability to move. There's a difference between me walking up the stairs out of cardiovascular shape with just groceries now, and getting to the top of the stairs and having to stop because I'm out of breath, versus being able to walk up the stairs with a bag of groceries, put them on the countertop, take them all out, and my heartbeat probably hasn't increased by 2 beats, right? So it makes a significant difference in the quality of our lives in
Mhm.
terms of exercise. And what exercise is different for different people. But there is this misnomer that you can't do things as you get older. That is quite mythical.
Well,
Uh,
we know that, don't
we
we?
know that to be right. We know that to be true. But I have personal examples for myself and my own mother, who is 75 years old and goes to the gym 4 days a week and has herself in great shape and is not on a single medication.
Yeah.
Um, Anyone can peruse any Instagram page and see the 93-year-old woman lifting weights.
Yeah.
And I'm not dumbbells. I saw a lady doing deadlifts like with 225 pounds. I was like, you get it, grandma. Right? Because those things strengthen our bones, right?
Yeah.
Exercise thing, it strengthens our bones and our flexibility, and it helps because as we get older, just like anything else, again, if you don't use it, you'll lose it.
Yeah.
And should you find yourself in a situation where I'm on the floor, you want to be able to do something as simple as get up off the floor.
Hmm.
You want to be able to get up off the floor without having to call EMS to get you off the floor, right? So it's just exercise has a lot of benefits, and it also helps with clarity of your mind. It helps with your sleep. It helps with your energy. I mean, it's just like anything else. So
Has
exercise is important.
mental status.
Yeah. And exercise can be different. I mean, everybody, it doesn't have to ride a bike for thousands of miles like we do. It could be something as simple as walking.
That's an exaggeration.
Well, not for me, but
That's an exaggeration.
yeah, I mean,
Thousands of miles.
well, yes, thousands.
What?
Um, so but it could be walking, it could be jumping rope, it could be lifting weights, it can be whatever it is for you. It can be, but it also can be modified. That's the thing. Exercise can be modified, but the important thing about exercise, and I will say this, is that you have to progress in it because your body will adapt to anything really, 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 really quickly. So
Yeah.
if you're walking, 100 yards a day, that means that at some point, preferably within 1 to 2 weeks, you need to up that to 150 yards because your body will adjust to that 100 yards and be like, this ain't nothing.
Right.
You're like, I exercise. You did, but you're not really doing anything anymore.
That is true.
You have to engage in what's called progressive overload.
Yeah. And I think we don't speak enough about how, the thing that you said about if you don't use it, you lose it. your muscle mass, how as you get older, you really lose strength and the ability to carry on your normal activities if you're not staying active,
Absolutely.
you know?
And that's one thing I can say about most, and having, been in medicine as long as I have, I can tell you, and not just medicine, just been around people in my family and been around elderly people. Let me tell you something. The elderly are well aware, if they're fortunate enough to live a long time, they're well aware of a couple of things. Number one, they are aware of the changes that occur in their environments and what they see.
Right.
Number two, they are well aware of the changes in their own bodies and their abilities to do certain things. And number three, and which is probably the most important, is that they are keenly aware of the potential ability to lose their independence.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they will fight tooth and nail not to lose that independence.
Right.
But one of the ways that we now know, because if you know better, you do better, of not losing your independence is lifetime maintenance. And that goes back to number one, lifetime of eating better. Number two, eating much better. I mean, we see, how many elderly people have you seen with walkers? And how many elderly people have you seen that have fallen and broken hips because their bones are osteoporotic and very thin? Things like exercise increase bone density, they increase strength. So what normally would be just an innocuous trip does not necessarily have to turn into a hip fracture, an operation, rehab, potential blood clots, and things of that nature. If you exercise allows you a sort of a kinesthetic awareness. And if you do trip, you can regain your balance. And if you do fall, if you've got a sufficient muscle mass and bone mass, it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to end up with something broken. And if you do happen to hit the ground, if you've been sort of taking care of yourself and do what you need to, you can get up.
Right.
And those are things that we take for granted. Like falling down and getting up at 45 is different from falling down and getting up at 95.
It's true. True. All right. Next.
Sleep and rest.
Mm-hmm.
You have to allow your body time to recoup, because most recovery, most repair, and most rejuvenation occurs in our sleep. If you are exercising and you don't get your performance does not in your exercise, whatever it is, does not improve while you are doing it, your performance and the adaptations occur while you're resting.
Right.
So you put the stress on your body, whatever, let's just say you're doing a squat, let's just say you're doing a back squat at the gym. If you have, let's say 135 pounds on the bar, when you're doing it, you're performing the exercise. But when you're done and you're resting is when all of the recuperation, the adaptation to what you have done occurs and allows your body to come back stronger. But if you don't get a proper rest, if you don't get proper, if you don't allow yourself proper rest and proper sleep, those things will never happen. And there's so many derangements that can occur just from lack of sleep. I mean, how many times have you not had enough sleep, but you've had to perform and you're just not quite there, and you're just a little sluggish, or your thought processes are not quite sharp enough because you're thinking, oh, wait, it's on the tip of my tongue.
Mm-hmm.
This medicine that I need to give this patient is right here. But you can't quite get it out because you have not had enough rest.
Right. Or second guessing yourself.
Or
saying, did I really look at everything? Am I missing something here?
Am I missing something here? Right? And people underestimate the importance of getting good rest. And I'm not prescribing a certain amount of sleep for everyone, because everybody is different. I only need 4 hours of sleep, right? And I'm good. If I get less than 4, I can tell I got less than 4. I can get more than 4 and be okay. That's like icing on the cake. But for me, the minimum is 4. For some people, I know people, my brother doesn't get 8, good luck,
Yeah.
right? Good luck. So whatever it is for you, carve out that time and make sure you get it, as often as you can. Of course, life circumstances come up, but when you can get it, do get it. And, if you are fortunate to not have to work night shifts or graveyard shifts or third shifts, then there are certain things you can do to ensure that you do get your rest, like things like not having your phone on visually reading an hour or so before going to bed, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because that bright white light mimics daylight, and it will completely mess up your circadian rhythms, which will make it difficult for you to go to sleep.
Yeah.
Let's not do crazy. And I know I have a good friend of mine who does this. Let's not do crazy things like have a bunch of caffeine before we go to bed. It's time for you your designated time to go to bed, and then wonder why I'm not getting enough sleep.
Yeah, I need to chill with the phone. That's my thing. I mean, I don't think that's why I'm not getting enough sleep. There's other reasons, but yeah. But I try to get enough sleep.
Well, what you can do with your phone, particularly now, is that there are settings on your phone that, like, for instance, if you have an iPhone, and I'm sure Androids have this feature as well, you can do something called dark mode, and I have it set on mine because I honestly, do I read at night? Of course, I read at night. My phone, my iPad, and what happens is
It
as it becomes evening time,
it
this
switch over.
it switches over to dark, yeah, and so
Yeah,
therefore I can
I have
still.
that on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's something as simple as that. But I'm telling you what, have it not set, and you just sitting there reading like this bright, backlight is in your face, it's sending signals to your hypothalamus saying, hey, you know what? It is the middle of the day. You
Yeah.
should be awake.
Hmm. All right, next. What's your next advice?
Moderation. Moderation. Moderation, and more moderation. Um, that can apply to the previous 3 things, right? We
Hmm.
talked about eating clean diet, right? But is it okay for you to step outside and have your what is commonly referred to as a cheat meal or a cheat day? Of course, just do it in moderation. Even exercise, if you do too much, you can go overboard with exercise and
Yes.
injure yourself.
Be unhealthy or just
Yeah,
be unhealthy.
or be unhealthy.
Yes.
Absolutely. And I have personally have been the victim of on a couple occasions of pushing too much, too far, too hard. And every time I've done it, I end up with an injury, or I ended up so wiped out that the next day I can't perform. Right. So it's about moderation. Um, Look, let's take alcohol for a second, right? You notice I didn't say anything about not drinking alcohol, right? Because I enjoy a nice bourbon like everybody else. I enjoy a nice wine like everybody else, but moderation, right? It's about moderation, and I would never tell anybody not they shouldn't do things without it being in moderation, with the exception of something crazy like cigarette smoking. Right?
That can never be in moderation.
Right,
Yeah.
that can never be in moderation. Right? There's no justification for moderate cigarette smoking whatsoever.
No.
Right? Cocaine use, right? Like methamphetamine use, right? Like illicit drug use. There is no moderation with that because all of those have incredible addictive properties, right?
Right.
Incredible addictive. The substances themselves have incredible addictive properties. And I'm sure someone's thinking, what about alcohol? Alcohol is incredibly addictive. It can be, but that's more the personality of the person,
Right.
right? And that's more the personality of the person as to where the alcohol has the addictive properties. And the other thing is like this: you never want to use something like alcohol, which can be used in moderation, but you never want to use it as a crutch for any of your other issues. Like if I'm not getting enough sleep and now I'm all stressed out and now things in my life are not right, I'm not using alcohol. Don't turn to alcohol because then, that will become addictive because you're not solving your underlying issues. All right. So moderation is an appropriate key for any sort of health. And it doesn't, like I said, it doesn't have to be bad things. Moderation can be for good things. So that's number 4.
All right. Number 5.
All right, so number 5, this has nothing to do with what most people consider quote unquote health. But you have to find your own personal outlet.
Mm.
Figure out what it is, because we all have something that we enjoy doing, right? Figure out what that is and just make time to do it. Um, because you will find personal enjoyment. You know, we sometimes we when we grow up and we become adults and we have responsibilities and we have children and we have jobs and we have bills, you know, a lot of times, particularly in Western society, we become slaves to our obligations. And, yeah, and children can be an obligation. A job is an obligation.
Mhm.
Bills are an obligation. You know, we become slaves to our obligation. Bless you.
Thank you. I was trying to hold that
I know
in.
you're trying to hold that in. Yeah. No, we become slaves to our obligations, and as such, obligations oftentimes can become unpleasant. As much as we love our children, sometimes they can become unpleasant, right? So they can be things. Our obligations can become unpleasant, and we get away from things that make us us, and the things
Yeah.
that we enjoy, things from our childhood that we enjoyed doing that we really, really, gravitated towards. We have to make sure that we maintain that as an adult because that provides balance. It provides physical health balance and also provides mental health balance.
Right.
Um, and if you can have an outlet for you to just decompress, go and do and enjoy whatever it is that you're doing, you'll find yourself re-energized and refreshed. And you're able to better deal with your stresses and better deal with your obligations in a way that is much more manageable for you. So whatever it is that you enjoy, do it. It could be, what if you like reading, read. If you like exercising, exercise. If you like travel, you don't have to necessarily have to have a passport. If you have a passport and travel internationally, that is awesome. But hey, it could be a day trip. It could be a
Mhm.
trip in your city. It could be going somewhere that you've never done.
Right.
Some people are foodies. Whatever it is, do it and enjoy it because that
Yeah.
provides you balance. And life is just short. We cannot spend our we cannot spend, I won't say our formative years, but we definitely cannot spend our most productive years being slave to obligations.
Hmm.
Because our productive years are like your formative years. They're in a window. You got a window. We all got windows, and we never know when those windows are going to close. And
Right.
you really want to waste, I shouldn't say waste. Do you really want to spend the bulk of your time doing something you're obligated to do at the expense of doing something that you want to do?
Right. And this just goes along. I saw Tamron Hall. I saw a post that she made on the Tamron Hall show. It was about she brought she's into boxing,
Mhm,
and she brought this lady who lost like well over 100 pounds,
mhm,
and what she said was she now she opened up a boxing thing in New York, and Tamron Hall goes to it,
mhm,
and she said something that was like it was so significant to me, and I even have it on my phone because I made a post to it, and she said it was about being like unapologetically putting yourself first.
That's
You
right.
know, I mean, just doing something that benefits you and that you enjoy to do, enjoy doing.
Mhm, mhm,
And you well know, um, when I was going through stress in my life, and that's what cycling was all about. Like that was our connection.
Yep.
And I never even thought about, right. Like I thought about it, but it wasn't anything that I was like. I was inspired by my brother, and I was impressed by him and his writing. But then it was like, yeah, I should really do something, because I started doing the cycling classes at the gym
Mhm,
and enjoyed it. I love the music. I was so pumped up. And then the thought came, I should just bring this out on
on the
out.
road, right? Let's
I
take
should
this
get it,
outside, see if we can
out
have
on the road. And the many times we spent riding. I mean, there were times that I just was like, hey, I used to ride when I was a little girl, and I would let go. Remember? I
Yes.
would let go. I could ride without even putting my hands on the handlebar.
Yes, I remember that first time we were doing that when we were riding, and you took your hands off the
Because
handlebars.
the thought, like,
Yeah.
it even allowed me to be in another place in my mind where
Hmm.
I wasn't thinking about all the stress I was
Yes.
going through.
Yes.
It was my outlet. That
Yeah.
was my 2 hours of like total mental freedom.
Yeah, it's funny because we picked up cycling around probably around the same, a little bit around the same time. I think I was a little maybe a hair ahead of you, but ironically, I picked it up out of a time of personal difficulty in my life, and
Right.
it was, but as a kid, it's like you said, as a kid, I used to ride my bike everywhere, and we would ride all over the place and loved it. And I've only had two bikes. Well, prior to me getting into it again as an adult, I had two bikes in my life, and I can remember those two bikes. The
Right.
first was a blue Schwinn with the banana seat
Yeah.
that my parents bought from Sears, and it had, I mean, it was a blue with the wide handlebars, the kind of
Yes.
the chopper
Yes.
style handlebars with
And
the
mine was
banana.
probably pink.
Yeah, I mean, it was, and I remember that bike, and I was only on training wheels for just a couple of days, and I got off. And then my second bike they got me was a 10 speed, and it was, I mean, it was yellow. It was yellow as yellow could be. And at the time, I got made fun of, but as an adult, now that I'm thinking, I was like, well, wait a minute, that's the Maillot de Jaune of the Tour de France. That's the winning colors of the Tour de France,
Right.
So it was like, what are we talking about here? But I had that bike. The bar tape was like brown. The seat was like this chocolate brown, and the gear shifters were on the top two,
Mhm.
as opposed to in the brake hoods like they are now. And there were
Oh, okay.
two levers but I rode that bike everywhere, and we would put like beads in the spokes and dress them up, and put like the bands on the tubes and dress the bikes up. It was absolutely crazy. But I drove that. I mean, I rode that
So
bike.
it was in us. The whole point of that part of it is that it was already in us.
Already in us.
It was something that we did when we were younger,
Yeah,
that we enjoyed. We left it,
left
and
it,
then
left it.
and doing stressful parts of, I mean, time in our lives, we
Yeah,
connected and brought it back. And it
back.
was like one of the best things I ever did. Look what it's done for me.
Man, I'm gonna tell you what, like you said, there's nothing like getting on my bike and riding, and the just the pure clarity that.
Yes.
And I will run, like, so when I train, I will use music, but I can absolutely just ride my bike with no music,
Nothing.
nothing,
Yeah, I've done that for sure.
and go for 30, 40, 50, 60 miles with just nothing, and
Right.
just love it.
Well, we know we got this thing coming up, so we have to hit I gotta get cracking. I gotta get moving.
I am thoroughly. I mean, that's a meaning. That's a meaningful ride. Like, you think about that, what we're going to be doing, riding from Montgomery to Selma along that same route, and then crossing the Pettus Bridge. I mean, that's like,
That's gonna be
that gives me goosebumps thinking about it. Right?
powerful. It's coming up. We've got like a little over 3 weeks.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, so number 6.
Number 6, and I probably would say this is of the most. This is probably, I would rank as the most important. And I would say make sure that you cultivate your important relationships in your life.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't mean your professional relationships. I mean your personal relationships.
Mm-hmm.
And make sure that those relationships are where they need to be with whomever they are. If it's with your children, get that good relationship with your children. If you have a significant other, make sure that you have that good relationship with that significant other, because we often don't give enough credence to the importance or how much you can achieve when you are in proper relationship balance.
Yeah.
If you have someone, let's just take a significant other. That's the easy enough one for everybody to realize. If you've got somebody and you're in sync with that person, and that person has your back and you have their back, and you're thinking about their best interest and they're thinking about your best interest, what you two can achieve is limitless. Now,
Yeah.
what a person can achieve by themselves is you can achieve a lot, but
Hmm.
when you've got a partner,
Yeah.
oh, it's limitless. I mean, you think about all the major businesses that have ever been started. And you think how many businesses, major successful ones, have been started by one person?
Right.
Zero. They'll now people will try to lie to you and spin up and spin up the tales and the stories, right? And the propaganda of, oh, I bootstrapped this all by myself. But nobody does anything by themselves. No man is an island unto himself,
That's
right?
right.
We all need someone to assist us somewhere.
Hmm.
And so we should spend our times making sure that we cultivate those relationships. I mean, if we were talking about Kobe prior to starting this, and one of the things that makes it so sad is that he died with his daughter, right? He died with his daughter, and she was such a young person. And of course, we mourn Kobe because he was such an influential and great person. Not athlete, he was an exceptional athlete, but he was more of an exceptional person.
Right.
Um, but when you think about it, she they were everywhere together, right? And I find it ironic, but some semblance. No parent wants to lose a kid. So his wife has lost a husband and she's lost a kid.
Right.
And that is very difficult for her. Um, but for that child to lose her life, for her to lose it in the company of a father that she loved so much, I can't say if that was any comfort because I'm sure there was a vast amount of fear that was going on in that situation. But for her and him to be there together, I mean, I think that speaks a lot. And
Yeah.
that says a lot because he was everywhere with her. And so we have to make sure that we cultivate these relationships. If you love somebody, you tell somebody you love them, right? Because you're not guaranteed to leave the house and come back, right?
Exactly.
Let's not waste our time arguing over trivial things.
Right.
And this can go to our fellow man, our fellow woman, and our people in society, how we get along. We
Mhm.
may not agree on everything,
Right.
but I'm pretty sure that we can find some common ground on some things.
Medium. Right.
Meet in the middle. And the things that you can't meet in the middle about, let's not be disrespectful to one another. Let's
Right.
not treat each other poorly.
Yeah. Absolutely. I agree. I agree. So I can add four things to
Okay, all right.
of our top medical. Some of them might like intertwine a little bit, but first I would say make sure that we're keeping regular checkups with our doctor and dentist,
Yes,
because just having that annual checkup can diagnose things early and treat and eradicate them.
right.
Dental health, that's important.
Take care of your grill, people.
Yes. I wanted to add laughter.
Good one.
Yeah, laughter. That's good medicine. You need some joy in your life.
Mhm.
That's important. I wanted to add sunshine,
Okay.
that vitamin D.
Yep.
Yeah. And then decreasing your stress, which goes along with what you were saying about cultivating good relationships.
Yeah,
You know,
absolutely.
yeah, stress really, people living under constant heightened state, really breaks their bodies down and
Absolutely, it
expose
does.
them to medical issues that they probably would not have.
Yep, absolutely.
So we need to decrease our stress levels for sure. Do those annual checkups, you know, and
Yeah,
live and laugh.
yeah, laugh, man. Enjoy yourself. You have to laugh and you have to enjoy yourself. You absolutely do. There's just this. There's no substitute for that.
Yes, absolutely. Um, yeah, I'm sure, just in lieu of Kobe's death, I'm sure he enjoyed himself, many times. I mean, yes, whew, it's all too soon, but let it be an example for us that we are to live freely, love freely, take
And
good care of ourselves.
yes, and that's one of the things that if you would go back to the catalog of interviews, that's one of the things he's known for his legendary work ethic. Yes, but if you would really pay attention, he would always say, "Live your life. Life is short." He always said that in all of his interviews, "Live your life and live." And And you can see another thing that makes it just sad because he was so young was that you can see the transition that he made from the intense competitor, but he took that same intensity and put it into his family.
Yeah. We have to remember, someone, I was watching something. I mean, he started at 18.
Yeah.
He spent 20
Actually, he
years.
started at 17. He
Well,
came into the league at 17. Yeah.
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 But under scrutiny, I mean, just it's a lot, and I feel sad about it. I feel I'm definitely keeping his family in prayer, his wife, the other daughters, the youngest one that may not even remember him because she's so small,
It's small.
you know just to keep them in prayer. All right, let's wrap it up and talk about your 4 tenets of fitness.
All right. So 4 tenets of fitness. This is really, really, really simple. Um, so 4 tenets, what I like to call the 4 tenets of fitness are this: strength,
Mhm.
um, cardiovascular fitness,
Okay.
mobility,
Hmm.
and flexibility. All
Okay.
right. So strength, cardiovascular fitness, flexibility, and mobility. Right.
Okay.
So let's take one briefly and talk about each. Strength is sort of self-explanatory. The ability to have a certain amount of strength to do things. Muscular development. Right. Um, Strength is important because we use our strength on a daily basis. Um, I'm holding a pen in my hand right now as I'm talking to you, right? That takes a certain amount of strength. Doesn't take a lot of strength, right? But it takes some strength in the muscles that are in my fingers, right? But after we get off of the phone, I'm going to go work out. That's going to take a different level of strength and what we call muscle recruitment. So to work out, to exercise, to develop necessary strength, not just to have strength for strength's sake, you know, because most people are not going to be bodybuilders. Most people aren't going to be competing, but you do want to have necessary strength to just do your basic activities of daily living, to have actual functional strength. And if you are doing something like I said, we talked about the lifting the groceries, or my friends asking me to help move. I got to go, pick up boxes and stuff. I have to have necessary strength to do that, right? So strength is a very, very important component, because not only strength helps with muscular development, it also helps with skeletal muscle development as well. So your bones basically will get strong as your muscles get strong because they're bearing weight. And you want that particularly to be an important feature of any exercise program as we get older, because if you lose you lose muscle mass naturally. You don't necessarily have to at the rate that will occur in the absence of exercise. But if you do exercise, you can prevent some loss of muscle mass, and more importantly, you can prevent loss of bone mass.
Right.
All right. So cardiovascular fitness, like when people talk about quote unquote being in shape, right? You want to have cardiovascular fitness, which is sort of separate but can intertwine with strength, because you want to have your heart and your ability to use oxygen to be as efficient as you can. When I first started riding my bike as an adult, I went out and said, I'm going to go ride 20 miles. I made it 3 and I was almost dead. Right? I was sweating and my heart was beating, and it was like it was completely out of control. And I stopped and I said, oh snap, I got to go back 3 miles to get back to the car. Right? So 6 miles, I was 14 miles short of stated goal. Not because I wasn't strong enough, but because I was not cardiovascularly fit enough.
Right.
And I was engaging in an activity that required cardiovascular fitness. And it
Right.
required my heart to pump out enough blood and oxygen to the muscles that were now demanding that this occur.
Right.
And I was turning the pedals, but my cardiovascular, my heart and oxygen, my heart and lungs just couldn't keep up,
Right.
right? So the ability to train and get cardiovascular fitness is very, very, very important. And as note, when I started riding my bike, I went from a resting heart rate of about 69, 70 And now that I've gotten much more fit, and now that I've lost a lot of weight, because I've lost 50 pounds, my resting heart rate now is 42,
That's good.
right? So that means my heart efficiently, I don't have to beat as many times to get the same
Right.
amount of blood and oxygen out, right? So when I do exercise and I do go at an intense level, my heart rate I think the highest I've seen my heart rate has been 130, and that's going all out. Now, my maximum heart rate for my age is 175. So I got a 45 beat cushion,
Right.
which is a lot. But that also has separate effects on things like blood pressure, things like coronary artery disease, right? So I had an episode of SVT, and for our listeners who may not know what that means, it was an abnormal rapid heartbeat. And when it occurred, I was at work, talked to a nurse, and I was like, "Why am I feeling my heartbeat going crazy like this?" Right?
Mm-hmm.
And I did an EKG, and I saw what it was, and went to call my cardiologist friend, and went to see him the next day, and he says, "Reg, this is probably a one-time event. We could put you on a beta blocker." In my head, I'm like, "I'm not taking no beta blocker. Are you crazy?" Right?
Because stop.
Because
Oh.
I know I'm not doing that. And then the next thing he said,
See?
"Huh?
Okay, go ahead.
I know I didn't take it. No, I didn't take it. Of course I didn't take it." And I know I'm sounding like a crazy patient right now, but but he said to me, he says, "You're overweight," and he said the reason that you're having this is because your weight is putting too much strain on your right ventricle. He said, "You can lose some weight, and these circuits won't happen." So what did I do? Lost some weight, right? Because I ain't been taking. I'm not taking a beta block because I know better, right?
So you're gonna do you're gonna do the you did
I
the
will have my own natural beta blockade. I will have my own natural bradycardia before I take the medicine that's going to cause it.
yeah.
So, just improving that cardio, and I haven't had an episode since. I have not had an episode since. So the cardiovascular fitness is, I mean, it's just, and it just extends to just everything, all sorts of activities that you can just get out. And if you don't have to, if you have children, young children, you're not with the young children, and you have the energy to play with them and to keep up with them, that's all cardiovascular fitness. So,
Okay.
all right,
Mobility.
flexibility. So flexibility is different. I'll combine flexibility and mobility because they're hand in hand. All right. So flexibility is the range of motion of your muscles. Okay. Versus mobility, which is the range of motion of your joints. Okay. And people sometimes think that they're the same thing or confuse them. All right. So if you were to take something as simple as, hey, tie your shoes, right? Tie your shoes from a standing position. In order to tie your shoes from a standing position, most people, I shouldn't say most, a significant amount of people probably cannot bend over in an appropriate fashion and just bend over and tie their shoes, bending over at their hips and getting down, because that requires a tremendous amount of flexibility in your hamstrings.
Right.
What you will see somebody do is put their foot up on a table or put their foot up on a chair and tie that shoe
Right.
because they don't have hamstring flexibility, right? Flexibility in your muscles are very, very important because you just don't want to have strong muscles. You want to have muscles that are flexible and are supple. And in fact, a muscle can be stronger if it is flexible because it stretches to a certain point, just like your heart stretches out to a certain point. And once it contracts, because it is optimally stretched, it can provide an effective a stronger contraction.
Okay.
So you want to have the ability to have flexibility in your muscles. And flexibility will also improve your movements as well. So you can do things like bend over and tie your shoes. At the beginning of when I first started my keto journey, I realized I used to be very, very, very flexible because I was an athlete. But I I could not bend over and touch my toes. And it was crazy. It was just crazy. Now, this is a person who used to could do a middle split. Okay. A person who was doing back handsprings and doing gymnastics and things. I couldn't do something as simple as touch my toes. But so I began to work on flexibility and I'm just about 9 months into it. And now I can put my hands flat on the floor from a standing position, right? I can sit down now and lean forward and almost have my chest touch the floor. It's called a pancake stretch. Um, I have flexibility in, it's not, I do gymnastics rings again now. I have flexibility in my arms. But it has also provided me with a tremendous amount of strength. It supplements my strength building things. So that's very, very important. Now, mobility is different. Mobility is how can you put your joints through a range of motion. So in that same example, as opposed to bending over and tying your shoes, the ability to flex your hip and put your foot up on something, that's how mobile are your joints. And you want your joints to be mobile because if they aren't, they become stiff and your range of motion becomes limited. And you can't do something as simple as lift your hands over your head, right? Well, I'm not in class. I'm not raising my hand anymore. You're not, but you are combing your hair,
Right.
right? You are reaching over in your closet and putting something on a shelf. You are reaching into your pantry and doing anything. So mobility is very, very important because mobility, when combined with flexibility, enhances your ability to move. So when I'm on a bike, do my joints, do my hip and my knee joints and my shoulder joints, are they mobile enough to put me into a more aerodynamic position?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Can
Yeah.
I now I used to could not ride in the drops or the lower parts of the handlebars because I didn't have appropriate flexion at my hips. But now that I do, I can get down in those little drops and just ride. And what that does is it actually makes the riding easier because it's less wind resistance. You know, the ability to do just a body weight, just basic function like a body weight squat. Can you squat down and get back up? And not a half squat. I mean butt to the floor squat, right? Butt cheeks dragging the ground squat, and then get back up. That's a function of mobility of your hips, mobility in your knees, mobility in your back, mobility in your ankles. And those are very, very important movements because these are things that we do every day. These are movements that we do every day. So mobility and flexibility go hand in hand. And if you put those four tenets together, strength, cardiovascular fitness, mobility, and flexibility, you can have sort of functional fitness. I mean, you don't have to necessarily be like I said, a bodybuilder, but you can have functional fitness, and those four things will allow you to transition across anything from a fitness level that you want to do.
All right. Awesome. I hope this was helpful to everybody. I really do. I mean, our goal is always to motivate and inspire people to live their best lives and be
Yes.
their best health. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, it goes without saying that, being overweight is a challenge in many respects,
Mm-hmm.
to your health. So if you can, take our advice and just live life on purpose, take care of your health, and hopefully, things will be better for you.
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you again, as
Thank,
always.
thank you.
I'll see you on the road.
Yes, you will.
All right. Take care. Have a blessed day.
You too.
Bye bye. Thank you for listening to the Health Flow podcast. Your support is much appreciated. It is my goal to share health information that you find helpful. Email topics of interest to thehealthflow@gmail.com. Follow me on Instagram at thehealthflow, also on Facebook at The Health Flow. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and share. Until next time, keep your health flowing.